Will SSG beat Falcons at the Esports World Cup? They might be the only team to be able to do it. And here's why. So welcome back to the Apex Morning Shift, your #1 ALGS morning show on the planet. That is a fact. So at the time this episode's coming out, the Esports World Cup for Apex will be starting tomorrow because this episode's coming out on Tuesday. So this past week, we had another 10 blocks of scrims, and the winners were Alliance, Luminosity, Space Station Gaming, DMS, Space Station Gaming again, Falcons, Aurora, Alliance again, Aurora again, and NIP. Clearly, Alliance, Aurora, and SSG have it down when it comes to scrims. They've been dominating like crazy these past 2 weeks. Speaking of which, here's an average points per scrims leaderboard of the top 20 teams from these past 2 weeks of scrims. Now, I think this stat for scrims is great because it allows us to just see which teams have been performing the best on average. Obviously, there's scrims, so sometimes the quality is good, sometimes the quality is bad. So it's interesting to see on average which teams are doing best.
Sometimes maybe good,
sometimes maybe shit. SSG first place, Alliance second, TSM third, Falcons fourth, Mizushi X, not moist by the way. I don't know why they changed it to Mizushi, but they're not moist anymore. Guild sixth place, DMS seventh, NIP 8th, Aurora 10th, Elevate 10th, and then the bottom 10. They also ran half the scrims on Oregon servers and the other half on Frankfurt servers. So European and Asian teams did have the opportunity to play on a lower ping. Now, for those of you who didn't know, the Esports World Cup will be run without the POI Draft system, which means that teams are back to claiming their POIs and can choose to contest whoever they want. Now, as you can see on the graphic here, this is where every team is going to land for Group A, a few contests here and there. And then for Group B... All right. Pause the video. Right after I recorded this episode, the unfortunate news that Passion UA won't be participating in the Esports World Cup due to their players Max Strafe, Artico, and Sanya living in Ukraine was announced. And the team that will be replacing them in Group B is ExoClan. And they will be landing Skyhook, Jurassic, Carrier, Airbase, and Spaceport. All right, back to the show. Now, for those of you wondering, why are all 5 maps there? I thought it was only Stormpoint and World's Edge. Well, that's because on top of World's Edge and Stormpoint, the viewers are going to be able to vote for which between Broken Moon, Kings Canyon, and Olympus the teams are going to have to play on as well, which is going to be super awesome. I hope it's Broken Moon because I think it's the better map out of those 3. Kings Canyon will bring nostalgia, and Olympus is just absolutely horrible. By the way, if you want to take the time and check the graphic out yourself, you can click the link in my description to my tweet. Now, notice how all the best fighting teams have the best POIs, and that's because no one dares contest them off drop. So they have the choice between any POI they want because they know that no team is going to challenge them for it. Which brings me to my next point, that 90% of you guys watching right now are still not subscribed. What the fuck? Which brings me to my next point. If you look at pure fighting teams, you can tell a team like SSG is the best around. 3 controller players, Phony is one of the best IGLs in the game, with Koifel and Zainu as debatably the 2 most mechanically talented controller players the game has ever seen. Those 3 combined together in a fight, I don't think there's anything scarier, including Falcons. And I've said this multiple times before, and for some reason, some people still comment, Zainu and Koifel are not better than Hallenge and Burn, bro. I'm like, mechanically, yes, dude. In fights, yes.
Yeah.
Experience-wise, hell no.
You put Koi in a 1v1 with either of them, Koi wins. You put Zainu in a 1v1, he wins.
Yeah.
On the stage, LAN, I think Hal wins the 1v1. I think Jen wins. I think both of those players win the fights against those 2.
There's a lot more variables that come into play when it comes to playing on the big stage. You got experience, you got less experience, but if the boys that have less experience are able to step it up, that becomes really dangerous. So here are the POIs that SSG's claimed. Climatizer on World's Edge, Launchpad on Stormpoint, Crash Site on Kings Canyon, Rift on Olympus, and Quarantine Zone on Broken Moon, which are all S-tier POIs on each map. And they can claim those POIs no problem because no team's gonna be like, excuse me, I'd like Quarantine Zone 2, please. I'll fight you for it. Which is why in a system where there's no POI draft, SSG shines. And they've proven it in the past few weeks of scrims. Now, for those of you who watched last episode, we did an Esports World Cup teams tier list, and we did not put SSG at the winning tier, which may seem to contradict a little bit what I've been saying this episode about SSG. I even tweeted out the tier list, and I had some few responses that disagreed with me on SSG, including Noko, who said that he didn't even look at the tier list because I didn't put SSG at the winning tier. So here's why I'm hesitant on them winning at all. They've yet to prove that they have that closing factor as a team. That closing factor being the ability to close out the tournament, to win when it matters most. Teams like TSM, Alliance, Falcons, Fnatic all have players that have that experience to close it out and are comfortable with being first place.
We've never seen SSG win.
No, we've never actually seen them win something.
They're comfortable placing top 5, just not winning.
So I really don't know how this is going to translate to the Esports World Cup. They've obviously been doing great, fantastic in scrims, but playing on the big stage in front of so many people is a whole different environment, so we'll have to wait and see. All I can say is make sure you follow the Esports World Cup for Apex on Twitch. I'm going to put their somewhere here on my face, because starting on Wednesday, we got day 1 of the group stages that are going to start. 10 games for Group A and B. Now, if you have no idea how the format works, make sure you click the link of the last episode in either corners here where we talk about the format, the schedule, and how everything's going to work. As for me, that's it for today's episode of your #1 ALGS morning show on the planet. If you enjoyed, make sure to turn the notifications on. New episode every Tuesday. Next week, we're going to be talking about who won the Esports World Cup. So I'll see you guys next week. Like and subscribe. Peacers. I need an outro. Give me a hot take. Just blurt out anything. Literally anything.
I think Vantage will be played at LAN.